All right, let's get to some of the bowls this week, which is why I know a lot of you are here. We will start on Tuesday, 5:30 Eastern on ESPN at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. We have Oklahoma State against Miami. This is the only bowl of two ranked teams outside of the New Year's Six bowls and obviously the college football playoff. This is an interesting game for me, like trying to cap motivation, which I think does matter more so with these teams, the Power Five teams. In this particular matchup, it's like, do either of these teams want to be there and the other doesn't? In that case, I think that might end up deciding the game. If they both want to show up or they both don't show up, we can look at some of the matchups. But I do want to focus on motivation. The first thing I'll say, which is crazy, is Miami has won one bowl game since 2006. They're 1-9 in bowls. I mean, crazy. Now, one of the things, if you look at from an opt-out perspective, I do think that there's positive signs for Miami, although Phillips and Roche, they're two best edge rushers. By the way, Jalen Phillips, who transferred from UCLA, was maybe a five-star bust. It went bonkers this year and made himself a ton of money. And Roche, awesome edge rusher as well. And they already had Russo opt out before the year. Rousseau, just take that out. So both their top edge rushers are out. And that is, to me, it's such a huge cap to this game because Oklahoma State's offense, Chuba Hubbard has opted out, a couple weeks back. But in general, their offense has not been the same. And it's because their offensive line has been a mess all year. Different rotations week to week. And they even had Jenkins, their best offensive lineman. He opted out about a month ago. So can Miami, with Phillips and Roche, I thought Miami was going to be in the backfield all day, and they were going to be able to take advantage of this Oklahoma State offensive line. Now you're going to have a bunch of backups. You have a Miami team that just got embarrassed their last time out, gave up almost 800 yards of offense to UNC. The Oklahoma State offense is nowhere close to UNC this year. It's because of that offensive line. Can Miami take advantage? I do like that you're not hearing about a lot of other opt-outs on Miami. De'Aaron King said he's coming back. Positive signs. Does this team have enough pride to kind of show up after what we saw last year when they got shut out in an embarrassing effort against Louisiana Tech in their bowl? That's the question for me. At BetMGM, right now, the Oklahoma State is 2.5-point favorite, over under 58.5. I can tell you on the surface, I made this Miami a slight favorite. Now I have to go in and adjust for opt-outs. I'm waiting as long as possible, so who knows? I mean, you even had Florida Atlantic has all their best players decide to opt out an hour before kick. But I do think that the two defensive ends, it's a big loss for Miami. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, this one was a tough one for me because there are certain things within the team for Miami that say take them. There's a lot of history that says don't take them. Miami's on a 3 bowl game losing streak. Hurricanes have covered just 2 of the past 12 bowl games. That would be the 2016 West Virginia game and the 2008 Cal game. And I mean, Manny Diaz is a part of that, just completely unprepared in these bowl games. You go to the other side with Gundy, and Oklahoma State's covered 4 straight bowl games. 7 of the last 10 bowl games they've covered in the over the last decade, since 2010. And, I kind of project this game Miami -2. So is the Oklahoma State number inflated? We know that we know that Oklahoma State is without Chuba Hubbard, have been for a while. Their offensive tackle, Tevin Jenkins, won't be there. Tylan Wallace, I believe, was upgraded to probable today, so that's good news. But, Stuck mentioned Miami's opt-outs of Phillips and Roche. Those defensive ends were a monster part of this defense. When I say monster, they led the team in quarterback hurries by far. They combined for 54 quarterback hurries on the team, and the next player on the list was at 11. They're going to start 2 redshirt freshmen on defensive ends, and that plays into the hands of Oklahoma State, because if you look at what Oklahoma State does offensively, they stretch the field, they go sideline to sideline, they like to run a lot of crossing routes, they like to get people in the backfield moving. So I think what's going on is Miami's not going to be able to expose the offensive line for Oklahoma State, and those defensive ends missing is a really big loss, bigger than just reading, oh, hey, there's an opt-out. Both defenses are heavy in defensive havoc. Oklahoma State, their strength of schedule was, 32nd. They're much better at controlling the trench and in defending the pass. If you look at them, their line yards were 18th, their pass coverage was 10th. And Oklahoma State, I just think that they have a huge advantage without those defensive ends on the side to contain Spencer Sanders or anything else that's going to happen offensively. De'Aaron King coming back is a huge confidence boost. That's a really big thing for Miami. The offensive line has got to get better for him next year. This year, they were 98th in sack rate on the offensive line. De'Aaron King was sacked 26 times. But I think they're going to find success here. And the reason is because I went back to see some of Oklahoma State's games. When did they face a dual threat quarterback? A few weeks ago, they played Max Duggan at TCU. 265 yards, a throwing TD, 104 on the ground, 2 TDs. Horned Frogs beat the Pokes. That Oklahoma State defense had problems with a dual threat quarterback all day. I want Miami. I prefer a 3. I think I have them projected to win the game at -2. I think both offenses are going to score a lot. When the defensive ends for Miami opted out of this game, that was only good for Oklahoma State's offense. So as much as I project this game at 57.5, it's sitting at 58. I think it's going to go over because Oklahoma State's not going to have enough pressure. They're going to stretch the field. And De'Aaron King is going to play dual threat role and do what Max Duggan did to the Pokes and put up, a lot of yards, a lot of points, and a lot of explosive plays. So I might wait to see if I can get this to drop to maybe a key of 57. I want to take an over here, and I want to back Miami. The Miami might come live. The 57 over will probably come pregame.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to quantify how much of a loss they are. That cluster loss at defensive end, it just would have been such a huge impact. And if you look, I have to give credit to Oklahoma State's defense as well. That's been the strength of their team all year. By some metrics, it's been a top 10, top 15 unit. And if you look at the advanced stats here, both defensive fronts have the advantage. But now Miami, you're taking away both their 2 best edge rushers. Still, I can't envision myself moving this line at 3, 4, 5 points because of the defensive ends being out. Right. So I agree with you. The play here for me is I'm waiting on a Miami 3.